Thank you. Good evening. We call this meeting to order at 6 o'clock. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Thank you. At this point, we'll just go into recognitions. Employee spotlight, Mrs. Ruggieri.
Oh, whoa. Is that better? Okay, good. Thank you. Just for those people who may not know, we started this program a little over a year ago, an employee spotlight program, where staff members nominate their peers for going above and beyond. And this is one of the favorite parts of our job. Every month is going through and seeing the things that are written. So tonight, I ask if anyone is here who is being recognized to please stand so we can acknowledge you while I say your name. So first, we'd like to honor Ashley Moore, the Secretary at Warwick Area Career and Technical Center. Thanks, Ashley. Megan Jamison, Tech Integrationist at Windman Middle School. Bernadette Caffarelli, the building sub at Norwood Elementary School. Dr. Lisa Schultz, Director of Curriculum Assessment and Instruction. Kristen Ways, Teacher Assistant at the Warwick Early Learning Center. Matthew Pelletier, PE Health Teacher at Norwood Elementary School. Joe Pizzatoro in the Maintenance Department. And finally, Kayla Quirk, the Coordinator of Non-Instructional Student Services. Congratulations to all, and keep those nominations coming.
Thank you, Mrs. Ruggieri. Any comments from any of the committee? Yes, Mr. Galli.
Just want to say congratulations to all those who we recognized this evening. I had the opportunity to meet one for the first time today at the Career and Tech Center. So just congratulations to everyone. I also want to give a shout out to our Tollgate boys and girls soccer teams who had a tremendous run in the playoffs, as well as the middle school girls soccer team from Windman, who had a tremendous run. They made it to the state championship, finishing second. So kudos to those young ladies, and I hope that they continue on in their athletic journeys and academic journeys. And I also want to just give a shout out to Ms. Schultz as well as Mr. Kane. Ms. Schultz set up today's learning walk at the Career and Technical Center, and Mr. Kane hosted. It was quite informational. It was a great opportunity. Those children are leaving Warwick Public Schools with something in hand to enter the workforce immediately, and so it was quite amazing to see. The children were all enthused to be there and actively participating. So again, thank you to Dr. Schultz, Mr. Kane, and all those that were honored tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Galligan. Okay, at this point, I look for a motion to go into closed session for discussion, interaction. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We're in executive session.
Testing, testing.
Thank you. We'll call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. I'll call the public meeting to order at 7 p.m. I'll be looking for a vote to seal the minutes of executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any votes taken in executive session? No. There were no votes taken in executive session. The next agenda item is public comment on agenda items. Public comment is limited to 2 minutes per person. All that stuff. All I ask is you state your name if you come up to the microphone. And I have to apologize in advance for my poor 30-second sign. I left my nicer one home. So I will do my best.
Hello, Darlene Netco, lifelong resident of Warwick, homeowner, taxpayer, voter, teacher of 36 years, 34 of which have been in this district. The first comment I have is about the presentation of the RICAS scores. And I think that shows good news for Warwick and that we're heading in the right direction. We've been saying all along the work that is being done in the classroom with the teachers and at home with the parents, encouraging their children to do well, and the kids themselves working as hard as they can. I think the result is obvious. We want to see, obviously, more growth in leaps and bounds, but we're heading in the right direction, and I think that's a testament to all the hard work that's being done in the classrooms. One comment, though, about the high schools. The PSATs and the SATs were never intended to measure any kind of proficiency. These aptitude tests, as they were, have had numerous studies and reports done about them over the years. The biases, the inherent problems with them, and for the state of Rhode Island to be using that as a test is abhorrent. There is no reason why our high school kids should have the SAT or the PSAT as a test to measure any kind of growth or proficiency or anything else. And shame on RIDE for doing that. And they did it a few years ago. Other states have, Massachusetts has their MCAS go into the high school. Why does RICAS stop at grade 8? It makes no sense. So I would take the high school scores with a grain of salt because they're not measuring what kids are doing. And as I said, you can go Google it. You can go Google all the studies that have been done about the biases and the problems with those tests, and that they aren't fair to kids and they're not measuring what a test like this should be measuring. And then also on the agenda is the update on the high schools. And yay, thank you to the voters of Warwick for having had the foresight to vote for these schools, and to everybody who worked so hard, including our teachers who put signs up and lobbied and passed out flyers and spoke to people to get this passed. Because look what happened in North Kingston, and that's very sad for North Kingston, but Warwick did the right thing, and now we're going to be able to reap the benefits of the state reimbursement program. Thank you.
Ms. Netco, anyone else for public comment? Anyone else for public comment? Going, gone. Okay, thank you. Okay, recommended action, routine matters. Looking for a motion to approve minutes of public session from October 10, 2023.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of the minutes of executive session, October 10th, 2023.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of transfers, November 14, 2023.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of warrants, November 14, 2023.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Announcements, personnel is presented. Mrs. Ruggieri.
Good evening, everyone. I do have a long list tonight, so I warn you in advance. First, I'm going to put up the retirements that I do need a vote for. We bid farewell to Bonita Lambert, science teacher at Veterans, with 30 years of service. Matthew Hodge, social studies teacher at Tollgate with 33 years of service. Lori Drown, central registration clerk with 41 years of service. And Lori Ann Grillo, teacher assistant kindergarten at Warwick Neck with 25 years of service, for a combined 129 years of experience leaving Warwick schools. We thank them all for all of their service to both the community and the students, and wish them well.
We're going to vote no on Hodge. No on Hodge.
We're looking for a motion to approve retirements as presented.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. I do have two resignations that also need a vote. Jessica Gubala, special educator in the AAP program at Hoxie, and Robert Anastasi, tech ed teacher at Winman. He had never actually started, but we did appoint him at a meeting, so I just wanted the record to show that he declined the position.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
And here's where it gets long. We have several TAs that, for whatever reason, never made an agenda, and we wanted them to have the opportunity to hear their names read aloud, so I will read them all tonight. We welcome Michael Boyasian as a part-time truancy attendance officer in the district. Lisa Dempsey, the early childhood principal at Welk. Trudy Demers, reading specialist at Pilgrim High School. Shayna Sobel, special ed teacher assistant at Hoxie Elementary. I'm sorry, special ed teacher, I believe, at Hoxie. Sarah Nolan, English teacher at Veterans. Katie Parker, teacher assistant one-on-one at Cedar Hill. Alexander Corey, teacher assistant co-taught grade 1 at Oakland Beach. Tanisha Behe, behavior specialist, teacher assistant, 50% Sherman, 50% Scott. McKenna Leahy, teacher assistant in the AAP program at Welk. Stacy Aguirre, teacher assistant in the AAP program at Park. Mark Breton, a special ed teacher assistant one-on-one at Winman. Madison Broder, special ed primary AAP teacher assistant at Norwood. Bonnie Donahue, special ed one-on-one teacher assistant at Pilgrim. Carol Feeney, one-on-one teacher assistant at Lippet. Raquel Fortuna, IASC teacher assistant at Welk. Ashley Hamilton, IES teacher assistant at Winman. Sheba Carter, special ed transition teacher assistant at the transition program. Lindsay Kitty, AAP teacher assistant at Park. Emily Cruzona, IES teacher assistant at Winman. Sarah Lynch, one-on-one teacher assistant at Oakland Beach. Stephanie Manning, intermediate AAP teacher assistant at Cedar Hill. Hannah Mellor, one-on-one teacher assistant at Winman. Jessica Neves, one-on-one teacher assistant at Veterans. Nora Pavo, intermediate AAP at Cedar Hill. Jennifer Roderick, grade 7A IA at Veterans. Stacy Silva, AAP at Lippet, primary. Casey Smith, one-on-one at Winman. Julie Vicalis, one-on-one at Lippet. Kim Boudreau, one-on-one at Lippet. Dana McGuire, IES at Winman. Janessa Sass, primary AAP at Hoxie. Bethany Oriello, one-on-one TA at Park. Gina Owens, one-on-one TA at Welk. Alicia Lopes, AAP primary at Lippet. Kristen Stringfellow, intermediate AAP at Lippet. And custodian at Tollgate, Mario Lady. We welcome them all to the district and hope they have long careers with us. And also, the coaches as presented in the packet.
Thank you, Mr. Ruggieri. I mean, there were 36 names. Are there any new people here? No? Okay.
Thank you.
What? Did somebody?
Move approval.
No, we don't have to vote on those. I was just seeing if any of the newly appointed people were here. Okay. Okay, next, donation. There are no donations or and correspondences. Adoption of policies, Dr. Cecil. First policy, GBE, staff and health safety.
Yes, good evening. Tonight, we have 4 policies up for first reads. The first is policy GBE, Staff Health and Safety. We brought this forward last month, and we were requested to strike a sentence about, or part of a sentence about teachers requiring a doctor or the school district being able to contact a doctor if they had a note to say they didn't need to wear a mask if that was necessary. And also, it was noted that we still had language in there that related to students, and this was now a staff health and safety. So that has all been cleaned up, and all the strike-throughs reflect that, so we're bringing it back to you and asking approval for a first read.
Second.
Any discussion? Mr. Gallagher?
Yeah, just want to say thank you very much, Dr. Cecil, for recognizing our concerns and addressing them. So I have no problem with this policy as it moves forward. Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next policy, Dr. Cecil, JHCE, Health, Nutrition, Physical Activity, and Wellness. First read.
Yes, this is a policy we brought forward last spring, and there was no activity done on it. We spoke or brought it back to our committee to look at again. This was approved by the person from the state who is over this policy and made sure that our language was accurate. We're asking for you to approve this first read, and once this policy has been approved, then the Health and Wellness Committee can begin to work with it in terms of activities, making plans, making recommendations for actions related to this policy. But we need to get the policy approved in its current form in order to do anything with it. So we're asking approval of this first read.
Move approval?
Second? I'll second it. Any discussion? Mr. Gallagher?
So I appreciate your comments, Dr. Cecil, and as you noted, back in April, I was actually the individual that made the motion to table this policy. My biggest concern comes from the fact that in Part C there, it indicates that policy is structured in accordance with the Rhode Island Physical Education Framework. That's my biggest concern. We did table it. This committee supported that. I forget how the vote went, but it went back to the policy subcommittee. So although I do respect that this was placed before the individual from RIDE, which I would take the administration at its word on it, essentially what is being asked of this body tonight, so I just want to make sure that we're doing this publicly so that way it's transparent for everyone to understand who's responsible if down the road something were to occur. Essentially what I'm gathering here is we're being asked to pass a policy with language which we know does not represent what is occurring on a daily basis within the schools, and that we know does not adhere to the current state statutes, yet down the road at some point will be in compliance to it. That's what is that what I'm hearing?
Well, actually, the curriculum is based on the physical education standards and framework set out by RIDE and was updated within the last 5 years based on that framework.
Yes.
So the curriculum that the students are being taught is directly written based on that framework. So
Yeah.
we are in compliance with the framework.
So the framework is, I'm not an educator by any means, but what's nice is that framework is just 3 bullets, right? It's 3 bullets out there on the state's website for the curriculum for physical education. If I just take, and we had this discussion earlier in the year, if I just take my household, just 2 elementary students at Holloman, and their schedule for the week, they are having physical education, one on Wednesday and health on Tuesday, one on Thursday and health on Wednesday. That's just the two at Holloman, okay? Both of those classes not equating to the 100 minutes as specified within the framework for physical education. Now, at the high school level, Ms. Necco has brought up several times, and I'm wholly in agreement with her, that we need to get back to those 3 quarters. And when we examine physical education at the high school level, and we extrapolate those hours over the entire year, we're just barely hitting that 100. So at the high school level, yeah, we're just touching it, that 100 minutes a week, which RIDE stipulates, but I can say, unless Holloman's an anomaly, that at the elementary level, that is not the case. Now, before you go on, I just want to state that there is a component to that policy, which I do like that is in there. It says co-curricular activities to include recess. We know that the framework doesn't allow the recess to be included within that calculation, and co-curricular activities aren't necessarily, though they may be structured, they are still not administrated by a physical education teacher. So I guess, again, I go back to, are we being asked, and I don't want to seem like I'm being contentious here, because you got me on a little bit of a hot seat. I'm hearing past this with this language, and then it will go to the Health and Wellness Committee, and then they can plan something, and then we'll get to this level that we need. So are we not at that level? Are we at that level? When will we be at that level? And do I sign my name to this policy knowing that we're not even close to this language that's in there?
The 10 minutes that you're referring to, as far as my understanding is that in the classroom, children are being given time where they are exercising with structured movement.
But it's not a physical education teacher
doesn't-
following a.
Well, the 10 minutes is done that way.
Understandable.
And so it does end up adding up to actually probably more than the 100 minutes when you add up all of those structured movement breaks, but that's where that additional 10 minutes is coming from.
No, so I'm just going to conclude with this. I respect your opinion on this. I don't see eye to eye with it. I appreciate the hard work that you've put into this at this time, but I'm not going to be able to support policy JHCE as written with that Part C at this time. So I do appreciate what you've done at this up to this point, but that's where I stand. I say that with all due respect. Thank you.
Ms. Backus?
Thank you, Mr. Testa. Mr. Galligan, this JHCE is focused on physical activity, all physical activity, not physical education. So it is a little bit different. It's not about physical education as much as it is about physical activity. So that physical education and physical activity in the movement breaks and things like that at the elementary schools are included. Thank you.
Any other comments from the committee? Ms. Hazelwood, anything?
Being that we don't have the Michelle here, who is my co-chair on the health and wellness, I suggest we table it till next month.
Yeah, so Ms. Hazelwood, just make a motion to table.
Would like a motion to table policy JHCE.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 3-1. Okay. Dr. Cecil, one more time. Policy JHCC, Student
Yes.
Health and Safety.
So
First.
this is the counterpart to staff health and safety, and went through this one with a fine-tooth comb, struck anything that had to do with staff, and this is the student policy on health and safety, requesting approval of a first read.
Move approval?
Second.
Any discussion?
I go.
Mr.
Dr. Cecil, Part D, I do not agree with. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, Dr. Cecil. Thank you for making those
Thank you,
amendments
Dr.
and your work on that policy as well, so.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next one, Dr. Cecil, Policy BCA, Committee Organization Meeting, first read.
Yes, so in going through all of these policies, you approved a policy earlier this year on the organization of the agenda. And this policy speaks to the meeting that happens in January when you elect new officers. And it says when you come out, then you follow this agenda. And it followed the old agenda. So this is just bringing it in line with the newly approved agenda, order of agenda. That's all this is. So requesting approval of a first read.
Move approval.
I'll second it. Discussion?
Discussion.
No. Ms. Hazelwood?
I like the policy. I just have one edit. Can we state that the term is for 1 year for all these offices? Because it doesn't really state that. It says in January, but it doesn't state that it's a 1-year term.
Sure, I can certainly insert that. That's
I'm
simple.
sorry, what?
Yes, I can certainly insert.
That's the only suggestion,
language.
just that it says it's a 1 year, if that's.
Yep.
Mr. Gallion?
Mr. Chair, just a question for you. If we adopt Ms. Hazelwood's amendment, could we possibly still acknowledge the first read? Or does it have to go back now for the amendment, then come back as a first read again?
No,
Before we get to that point, I would just say the first paragraph essentially says exactly what Ms. Hazelwood is looking to do. It says the school committee shall determine its organization annually at the first regular school committee meeting in January.
So is that,
So that's saying every January.
and that's always been that way, so.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so your first meeting in January will determine our organization, and our organization is our officers, so every January you're going to determine that, so.
So if you don't find it necessary, Dr. Cecil, I will go right with it.
Okay, because
Okay.
I mean, he's right. It does already state annually.
Yeah, I don't think it could be interpreted that a chair, a vice chair, or clerk serve
Okay.
more than 1 year.
It's a 1-year term.
Yeah, for every January, from January
Okay.
to December. Okay. All right, so there was already a motion to approve it the first read, and it's been seconded. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, thank you. We're going to table the policies for elimination until December. Ms. Kirby-Chapman wasn't able to fully vet all those, so in fairness to her as a member of the policy subcommittee, I want her to be able to look at all that. My expectation is we would just uphold this, because many of these policies are just outdated, so
There's going to be another list for December.
that's fine. Be a bigger list.
A
That's
much
fine.
bigger list.
I'd love to get that
But
policy
we're
manual from
trying to
this
get
thick
that
to this,
manual
to something more manageable.
consolidated.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Dr. Cecil. Okay, next, new business, discussion, presentation, fall 2023 data update. Dr. Schultz and Mrs. Cousineau. Thank you.
Hello and good evening, everybody. My name is Dr. Lisa Schultz. I'm the Curriculum Director for Warwick, and I have some very good news to share with everyone today. I will try to make this brief but inspiring. Let me know how I do. You can leave feedback at youtube.com, or maybe not. Here we go. I want to start with the K-8 RICAS scores. So RICAS is an annual test given to students in grades 3 all the way through grade 8. And it shows us some very exciting trends that I wanted to highlight this evening. So if you look at the very top of this slide, you can see scores. The first band of color is from 2021 to 2022, and then the next one is how we did in the past year. You can see that the green band, those are the students that are meeting expectations, that is slightly larger. And then the students in the blue, those are students who are exceeding the grade level expectations, is a lot bigger this year. It's really hard to get students into that blue spot. That's where we want our students to be, also in the green. And so we did go up by 2%, which is a great showing. We did have some schools make some incredible gains this year, things that you don't usually see. I wanted to give a shout out to Oakland Beach Elementary School. The old principal is sitting right next to us, excuse me. Was in charge when they went up by 14% in ELA, something that we very rarely see. Along with that is Norwood Elementary School. Dr. Antonelli led the charge. Amazing teachers all working together at these schools, up 12%. Park Elementary School, for the third year in a row, went up by 5% in ELA. Not only is in Rhode Island that have been given this distinct honor for gap closure for students in different subgroups. And so our students at Park have made so many gains in the past 3 years that now they are in the lead in our district. Very exciting news for Park. Wyman went up by 17% in ELA, absolutely incredible. And Robertson Elementary School on the map, up 4% in ELA this year. We had even higher gains in mathematics this year, which might be attributed to several factors, including the fact that we have math interventionists at full time at every elementary school, making some really great moves, pushing into classrooms, and just making waves in a really great way. So again, if you look at the color bands, you can see that our scores went up almost 5% from last year. What'd you say? With less students, thank you, Mrs. Cousineau. Hoxie Elementary School, some bright spots for you, up 5% in mathematics. Greenwood Elementary School, up 11% in math. Holloman, up 7.5%. Norwood, up 20.5%. Incredible. They had the highest growth in the entire state. Can we give them just a little round of applause for that hard work? Absolutely. Incredible. Also, I have to mention Windman Middle School. It is extremely difficult to move a middle school at this point. The students are learning much higher order thinking skills when they get into middle school. It is harder to move those students. They went up 9% last year. They had a multi-pronged approach where they did all these creative things to make sure the students got what they needed, and it really, really worked. So we're trying that model at some other schools this year as well. Wyman, again, went up by 10% in math. Park up 8%, and Robertson up 3.5%. That is not the full list. You can certainly check all of these out on the portal. All you need to do is just search RICAS results, and everything's publicly available for you. All right, so we did find out that there is a correlation that higher iReady scores in the spring are linked to an increase in scores on RICAS. We did see that last year. I did a presentation that showed how we did. I'll be mimicking that again this year to show where we could be when RICAS comes out in the fall. All right, you probably can't read this, so I'll just go through it very quickly. We did have more fluctuations overall in our scores in ELA. It might be attributed to the new curriculum that we have, K-5. There can be an implementation dip, and so a couple schools did go down. Other schools went up. It's a little inconsistent the first year. We should see that become a little more just even keel consistent as we move forward. Math growth overall in all of our schools is very strong. We are now holding data meetings to plan action steps with principals. The high school data now, this is something that Ms. Netco did bring up earlier. It's similar to last year. We did have an increase in PSAT math scores at Pilgrim by 3.5%. ELA at Pilgrim went down overall, PSAT and SAT by 7%, and scores at Tollgate were just stagnant across the board. Couple things to just keep in mind, that science testing is now going to count towards our accountability rating. Very soon we're going to be given a district and school-by-school report card rating. It's based on 5 stars, and depending on absenteeism, our testing rates, our growth rates, and how we're doing, they give us a rating. And so they're going to now include how we did on the NGSA, the science assessment. Our state scores on the NGSA decreased by about 0.5%, but we went up by 5%. So we're doing really well in Warwick. We're right under that state average. However, we are piloting a new high-quality science curriculum this year. We're starting at the middle school, and we're hoping to see some amazing things happen with that. So there are some questions about the subgroups. So when you break it down, we saw that there is some slight fluctuations, but basically things were pretty stagnant across the board. We overall saw an increase in the subgroups. In mathematics as well, we had students go up a little bit more because we did have a higher growth rate in mathematics, so pretty much in line with what we saw overall in the district. And that's about it. If you do want to check it out, this is available, like I said again, when you just Google RICAS results. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Schultz. Any questions or comments from the committee? Mr. Gallion.
I just want to commend the schools that had significant growth that were mentioned in that presentation. Some of those numbers are fantastic, and Ms. Necco mentioned it during public comment. You know, great job to all of the teachers, but also all of the supporting staff, to include the TAs in the schools that are also helping out in those classrooms, and the math interventionists, and the programs that we had to help close those knowledge gaps, the teachers that participated in those, as well as everybody up here in front that helped kind of get some of these programs in place to support the growth that we have seen. So great job. I hope that we can see it year over year and continue to move towards the direction we want to get to. So thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Superintendent.
I'd also like to commend all the staff, teachers, the administrative team. You know, it really takes teamwork to accomplish what we've accomplished this year. We're trending in the right direction. We still have more work to do, but I'm so proud of everyone. So thank you for your hard work.
Thank you. Dr. Schultz, I always have something to say about this topic. I want to commend you and everybody who was involved here, from teachers to principals to administrators to everybody, because this doesn't happen without everybody rowing in the same direction. When you presented your iReady scores earlier in the year, I asked, you had said they tend to correlate with RICAS, and I had a conversation with you and the superintendent, and I said, you know, if it doesn't translate into RICAS improvement, then I'd have a big problem with that, and it did. So my hope is, the goal is to at least replicate what we've done this year, or last year, for this year. Because this is, and I'm going to reference the book Good to Great, if anyone's read it, it's the flywheel effect. So once you get something rolling, okay, and if it builds on itself, and I think it has to do with K through 8 with the curriculums. I completely agree with Ms. Necco on SAT and PSAT, and the reason why we do that is because the state was too cheap. They didn't want to pay for the MCAS version of the middle and high school. The state was just too damn cheap, and it's too bad. So I think it does show what we can do when we do it together. Math interventionists, that's music to my ears, because I sat on the stage and I fought for math interventionists many years ago, because I see the value, and I think the value is played out very clearly. So I want to thank you and everybody else involved, because it's continuous improvement. And when you're in continuous improvement, you never get there, right? There is kind of in the ether. You just keep moving, and you build that flywheel, so thank you. Okay, next, discussion update, superintendent update. Superintendent Danbrook.
Good evening, everybody. The first thing I want to discuss is attendance. Attendance is a problem across the state. The Commissioner of Education has made that a priority, and I want to talk a little bit about Warwick's attendance. Research shows that chronic attendance is associated with a number of negative consequences for students, including lower achievement, disengagement from school, higher dropout rates, course failure. And what is chronic absenteeism? Because many people are surprised when they find the definition of it. It's actually missing 10% of the school year. So that would be 18 days, which can actually be 2 days a month absent. Then your child or your student is considered chronically absent. So it's all our responsibilities to make sure school attendance is improving, students attend on a regular basis. We want to inspire students to be engaged in their education. So last year in Warwick, 45% of our students were chronically absent. This year, all of our schools are on a much better path. There is a dashboard, attendance dashboard, that you can check out at RIDE, and it shows students right now in November where they were with absenteeism last year, the percent of chronic absenteeism last year to same time this year. And just about all of our schools are trending in the right direction, improving on their attendance. But we do have currently 2 truancy officers or attendance officers working in our district. They're doing a great job. They have some success stories about helping their families, getting their children back into school. But we feel as an administrative team that being reactive is just not enough. So we're beginning a proactive campaign on why it's important to attend school. We want students, parents, and guardians to know the importance of attending school today in order to better achieve tomorrow. So you'll be hearing more about our proactive campaign on why attendance matters. The other topic is special education. So this year, there's been many additional special education classes added to support students with IEPs. You know, we all know that IEPs are a legal document, and we staff according to these needs. We created 15 more special education classrooms. And the special ed department has prioritized professional development. 18 members are participating in a year-long Train the Trainer program led by Dr. Bateman, focused on the individual education programs. The Warwick Special Advisory Committee hosted an IEP 101 presentation, and I had the pleasure of reviewing that presentation, which was excellent. So the co-directors were there presenting this presentation. It was very interactive, allowing special services department to engage with parents, providing a dynamic experience where parents could inquire about specific aspects of the IEP process. This is available on the Warwick School Department website under the Warwick Special Education Advisory Committee. And the last thing I'd like to discuss is Council President McAllister reached out to me and my team to give us the opportunity to do a presentation at the City Council meeting on December 4th at 7 p.m. This presentation is the state of Warwick schools. Members of the school department and school committee usually attend school council meetings, city council meetings, excuse me, to ask for budget increases, funding to support our budgets, or we might be going there to release money for our bond projects. So I'm thrilled to join my administrative team in highlighting the accomplishments and successes happening in the Warwick schools. So please come and join us on December 4th at the 7th. As we all know, there's so many successes and so many great things happening in Warwick schools, and it's a pleasure to share this information with the city council members so they know that what they budget, what they give us for our budget is very important, and this is what we do with your money. This is how we support teaching and learning and improve. So thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent. Anyone like to say anything? I would. Ms.
Just
Hazel?
want to commend all the hard work from everyone, from administration to the teachers, teacher assistants, and all the hard work with the students. And I wanted to thank especially Jen and Dave for 15 classrooms. That's incredible. And all the staffing that you did. So thank you all so much for your hard work.
Thank you. I'd like to address two things. Number one, the invite to the city council was nice. It'd be nice to go there to essentially, spread some good news, because we're only there when you need a budget, or just like you said, so that would be good. Chronic absenteeism. So I know it's 18 days in the course of a year, but if a student gets strep throat, they're off for more than 2 days. So that student is included in that chronically absent. Okay, this reminds me of like Wright's star system, right? They're only as good as your worst star. So when people see a headline in the local newspaper about chronic absenteeism, they think, oh my God, this is South Central LA. But it's not, because you need to understand how those numbers are figured. And truthfully, 18 days over the course of a year is a lot. But to miss 2 days a month, even with a common cold, is not unusual. And so I think the interpretation or the connotation of chronically absent means these kids just don't go to school and the parents are somehow failing. But think about it. I had 3 kids. When they had a cold, you don't want to send them to school because the school doesn't want the child, and if they have a sniffle or whatever. So 2 days in the course of a month is not crazy, but it counts as chronically absent. It's one of those right things that makes me shake my head. So, enough. Okay. Next, discussion update. FY24 monthly financial review. Mr. Bull.
Good evening. I've provided everybody with the October update for fiscal year 24, and as usual, forward any questions to myself or the business office that you may have. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Bull? No? I just note lunch fund balance is now $153,000, so it's spiked, but okay. Okay, next, discussion update, high school update, Mr. Gothberg.
Good evening. This is a quick update on how we're moving along with the new high school project. A month ago or so, we were approved by City Council to go ahead. The architects have been plugging away without a contract, without any promise of payment, but they have been working. So what we've done is they put together a letter of intent, which is the next agenda item, but to let you know that was approved by the building committee on 11/6, and will be presented next item. And then negotiations for the contract and their costs will be started next week. 3 meetings have been held with RIDE School Building Authority to review the site considerations for the building locations, square footage review, multiple suggestions on career and tech integration and use or non-use of the existing career and tech building, and the impact of that on project and the cost. Classroom designs and layout for multiple spaces, general ed, science, career and tech, teacher spaces are underway and being readied for review and input from the teachers, students, administration, and the committee. The first meeting with the architects, principal, and administration was held last Thursday. Another is scheduled for this Thursday to go over a high-level view of programs for each school and impact on space and classroom requirements. So we are at the beginning, we're moving ahead. We start to go full bore now that we have the letter, hopefully the letter of intent will be approved, and we'll get going hard on the project. So ready to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Mr. Gothberg? You have one. One of the next steps would be to prepare a bid, right? Prepare a bid to go out for contractors for the schools, right? So is that in the works?
First thing I'm doing, my office is doing, is I have an RFP that should be ready tomorrow, a draft review that I will hand to Mr. Henius and send to the building committee for review so that we can get going with an OPM. As soon as we have the OPM on board, then we have, we'll have to do a contract with the architects to get moving and then put together an RFP with the OPM for the design build that we need to do that's been discussed previously.
Thank you, Mr. Gothberg. At least the ball is finally rolling.
Yep.
So, good. Any other questions, Mr. Gothberg? Okay, next item is you again, Mr. Gothberg. Discussion action, letter of intent, review and approval, Simon Sicoscio Associates.
Okay, the letter of intent is a promise to pay them $250,000 for the initial work to get moving while we're going and forming the contract and negotiating a final number for them. In it, it references AI contract B101-217, but if you notice, it says modified. So this is just telling us that that's the contract they would like to use, but it will need to be modified to the delivery model that has been chosen, which at this point is the design build, not a design bid build delivery model for the construction of the school. So the only thing that you would be voting on is the letter of intent to pay them the $250,000 for the work until we get to the contract, and it makes no other promises than that.
Questions for Mr. Gothberg? Mr. Gallagher? Oh, I'm sorry, yes. Looking for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve the letter of intent, review and approval.
Second.
Discussion, Mr. Gallagher.
Just can you confirm the $250,000 spend, that will be billed against the bond money, correct?
That is correct. This all comes out of bond. The $350 million bond includes all soft costs, architectural fees, all of that besides the hard construction costs.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Gothberg, and the building committee did meet. We had a second meeting on the language of this letter. One of the building committee members wanted some clarification, so we had the architects come in. We had a meeting just to clarify that, and everybody was on board. So design build is the only model that we can do because of the time constraints. So, okay. Looking for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next item, discussion, action, service request, stadium systems, Mr. Ricks.
Good evening, everyone. I come before you tonight to get permission to send out our football helmets to be refurbished at the end of the football season. It's by state law that they have to be recertified and reviewed. So we send them out after the Thanksgiving Day football game because it takes that long to get our helmets and shoulder pads, certified. They usually come back just before August. So I bring it before you to get permission to send them out, and then I'll probably have to come back to you next year to pay the bill, as I did this year.
Second.
Moved, seconded. Any comment? No. Okay, hearing, Mr. Ricks, just for the public's edification, this creates a little confusion from a budgetary perspective because we send them out now, we get them back next year in August, and that's when we pay it. So, if you just sent them out on your own and then came to us in August to say, hey, we need whatever it is, $10,000, $11,000 for the service already rendered, so this is just, after speaking to Mr. Bowl, the best way to handle it, so thank you. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's right there. Okay, next, agenda item number 7, A, B, and C, discussion action, special services, 3 full-time teaching assistant positions. This is Mrs. Barber and Mr. Allenback. We're going to take them all at once as one, so just explain the need for the 3.
Sure. Good evening. Tonight, the Special Services Department is requesting the addition of 3 full-time one-to-one teaching assistants, one at Oakland Beach, one at Cedar Hill, and another at Tollgate High School. These are due to additions to students to the district or additions to students' IEPs. These are non-budgeted. However, the district is obligated to provide these services under IDEA.
Motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Wait,
Oh, I'm sorry.
I guess
Mr.
the
Gallagher?
only request I would have for the administration would be just to notify this body prior to the next meeting, the next fiscal report, where these unbudgeted funds would be pulled from. That would be the only ask. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, agenda item 8, discussion action, wise member disciplinary hearing. Want to make a motion? Yep. Okay, Mr. Gallagher.
Motion to modify the superintendent's recommendation as discussed in executive session.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next, discussion action, potential litigation regarding social media class action lawsuit, as discussed in executive session.
Motion to join lawsuit as discussed in executive session.
Second.
Second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Mr. Kane, you're up for the next 1, 2, 3, 4. If it's okay with the committee, we can have him present all 4?
Sure.
Okay. Mr. Kane.
The Career Center is looking for approval for PO 2400-217 to have added $4,500 to cover consumable supplies that construction needs to purchase. The funds are coming from the Perkins Supply Grant. Okay, similarly, we're looking for PO 2400-223 to have an additional $1,092.59 to cover consumable food purchases for an event the culinary is hosting. That'll come from the commercial food supply account, which is a budgeted expense. Also looking for approval of Rec 17750 to purchase the Green Power USA F-24 car kit for $6,000. The purchase for the CAD program is for a state national green energy initiative that culminates with a state national competition. It's being sold through the Rhode Island Computer Music Exam for Green Power USA. Although this purchase is not through a sole source provider, they have immediate availability of the item. We did lose the competition last year because they could not get the item, so that funding kind of just dried up. So they have assured us that it is in stock, ready to go. It's fully funded through Perkins. Also looking for approval of requisition 17678 to pay for our annual portion of Bridging the Gap spate with New England Institute of Technology. This contribution is used to correlate with student investment to meet CTE standards for automotive, construction, electricity, and marine trade programs, and provide instructors with training and curriculum resources. It's fully funded through the Perkins grant at no cost to the district.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any questions for Mr. Kane? I do have just one. On the Green Power car, this is something that we've done before. I know you mentioned we did it last year. We've done it before too, right?
Yeah, and I think it was under Perkins funding, and they could not, in the end, deliver by the fiscal deadline. So although it was budgeted for, the money, you know,
Okay.
we couldn't spend it for that.
And on one of the, I think the very first one, the change order request for $1,092, you have an open PO, right? Is that the one you have an open PO with, and then you just add to it as you need?
We
stuff?
do, and rather than doing a straight, let's say 20,000, we decided to go about it, you know, incrementally this year.
Okay. Okay. All in favor of agenda items 10 through 13?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Next item, discussion action contract award, modern teacher, Ms. Cousineau and Ms. Murray.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, Superintendent, members of the school committee. Mrs. Murray and I are here tonight on behalf of Dr. Schultz, Mrs. Murray, myself, and Superintendent Danbrook. We have the opportunity to go to a conference in February in Hershey, Pennsylvania on behalf of our modern teacher program that we've been using. Modern Teacher brings together teachers, coaches, and leaders dedicated to transforming student experience with innovative practices and learning models. The conference, it will be in Hershey, but we're going to be traveling to York, Pennsylvania to see the school system that's been implementing for the 3rd year with this program, and we're extremely excited about what we can bring back, incorporating our strategic plan and vision of the graduate. Looking for your approval on this budgeted expense.
Move approval.
Second.
Second, any discussion? Mr. Gallion?
Is this essentially like a train-the-trainer program in addition to seeing how it's been implemented within another district?
What we've decided to do is this year, we're rolling it out to just the admin team. And once we get our feet wet with it, we'll head out and we'll train our principals, and then we'll train the teachers.
So the
it's
training
kind
you're
of a-
going to will support professional development,
Absolutely.
professional
There's
development
a
in-house.
huge professional development piece associated with this that we're super excited about, and we want to see it in action. So we're going to go check it out first.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Oh, Superintendent, do you have something to say?
Oh.
There you go.
I just wanted to say that this is a chance for us to see the end game. You know, we contracted with this company. This other district that we're visiting has been with them for about 5 years to see the personalized learning, to see the teaching and learning in the classrooms there. We'll be actually going into schools, shadowing students and observing on how their teaching practices and their student engagement has changed. So we're excited to see the end game.
Excellent, thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, item 15, discussion action, contract award, Imagine Learning, Mr. Heatherin.
Good evening. I bring before you this evening, the grant department brings before you this evening a contract award for Imagine Learning. It's grant funded through the Title III Immigration Assistance Grant. I ask for your approval.
Move approval.
Second.
Second. Any questions? I do have one. This is partly geared to multi-language learners,
Correct.
right? And I don't know who I would direct this question to. Have we seen an increase in multi-language learners in our district? A
Yes.
significant increase of
Yes.
multi-language learners?
Yes.
Okay.
On a daily rate, yes.
Okay. Are we equipped to handle that increase in multi-language learners?
We're trying, yes.
Right. I mean, I think it's going to require more resources. You know, and it's more of a rhetorical
Resources.
question. I don't expect, yeah, so,
I can help answer that question as well. The
please.
Multilingual Learners Department is under the curriculum umbrella, and Tiffany Beltram is the new coordinator. We're very fortunate to be able to have her full-time now to help with the increase in MLLs across the district. But I want to just let everybody know that it's across the state. It's across the United States. We're seeing a huge influx, and so we are definitely making some pretty big moves to make sure that our students are getting what they need. And I think we have the right people to help lead that charge. We have Tiffany, who has years and years of experience doing this, so I just wanted to add a little clarity on that.
thank you. I met Tiffany, and I was impressed. I mean, she loves what she does. It's obvious when you meet her, so, okay. Yeah, it is. We're a public school system. We can't pick and choose who we're gonna let come through the doors, so, okay. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, discussion action contract award, Kathleen Fagan, Mr. Heatherin.
So again, this is a contract award that I ask for approval of. This is a speaking engagement that's going to be held at Veterans Middle School on December 6th, and this is a grant-approved expense.
Move approval.
Second.
Any questions for Mr. Heatherin? I, of course, have one. It might be for the superintendent, I'm not sure. I read this, and it kind of dovetails with the class action lawsuit for social media, as Ms. Hazelwood pointed out. But I noticed in the supporting paperwork, it says media, Warwick Beacon, Channel 10, Channel 12 will be invited. I looked at the flyer from the speaker and what she's going to talk about. We just really need to push this, awareness of this, to get people to come, because I think it's very valuable, especially if you have someone adolescent age or older.
Yes, we're really looking forward to this event and trying to get that message out to our community, but also beyond that. This is going to be funded through Project Aware and aligns with thinking about mental health and destigmatizing and hopefully opening the conversation between families and their youths about the challenges of perfectionism, presence on social media, and that mental health piece. We're very excited to be able to have Kate Fagan, who happens to be the niece of one of our educators here in Warwick. So she's an Emmy Award journalist and a New York Times bestseller author.
Right, and I noticed it's in coordination or conjunction with the Health Equity Zone and Kent County Prevention. They did the screenagers presentation. So,
right.
And I wouldn't hesitate to reach out to the mayor's office and whatever city department that would help with that too.
Yep,
So,
we have a committee of people working on that, so thank you to our partners, the Health Equity Zone, Kent Coalition, Prevention Coalition, and Thrive Behavioral Health will also be there.
great, thank you.
Thank you.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next, discussion action contract award, empowering writers, Mr. Heatherton.
So again, I ask for your approval. This is for Hoxie Elementary School. This is for on-site coaching and the online hub for empowering writers. This is a grant-approved expense through Title I.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, Mr. Heatherton, you again, contract award, third person therapy, Norwood.
So again, I'm requesting your approval tonight for this purchase contract award for third-person therapy for Norwood. This was approved by RIDE, and this is a grant-approved expense through Title I.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, Ms. Ruggieri, the Power School Group, discussion action contract.
Good evening. I seek your approval for this budgeted expense. This is the School Spring Job Board. This is where we do all of our posting for vacancies. It feeds right into School Spring and keeps us competitive with the other districts around the state.
Move approval.
Second.
Second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, discussion action. I'm excited for this one. Dr. Taylor, Rave Mobile Safety.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the school committee. What we have here before you is the product of a collaboration between Dr. Cecil, Mr. Magiacomo, myself. We worked together on a competitive grant, and we were able to fund the Rave mobile app. It's a very important product in ensuring utmost safety amongst all of our facilities. The ability to alert in case of an intruder or any emergency type situation, as well as keeping all stakeholders informed. This was part of that same grant that was Beacon 24/7, which came before you most recently, as well as the additional attendance officer that we have in the district. So we'd ask for your approval this evening.
Move approval.
Second.
Questions? Because
I had it on my
Please.
phone the first time around.
Yeah.
And, in this day and age, now we need it more than ever, more than ever. I support this.
Right, so I would ask you, I see Mr. Magiacomo's here too, so I don't want to do the explaining. So what happens, well, it's an app that staff would have on their phone. So can someone just, for the sake of the public, not for me, I know what it is, and most of us do, but people watching may have no clue what a Rave app
Right.
is. And this is important stuff. I was high on this when we had it the first time.
So good evening, yes, that's correct. So what it does is it shows up the gaps that we may have or that any other school district may have with communications in line with emergency communications. When I came into the district, trying to collect data as far as where we stand with technology and old infrastructure, PA systems, walkie-talkies, Wi-Fi signals, all these different things I started to look at and start to collect data on. And we went back to that smartphone technology, something that we had about 4 or 5 years ago that I had as a police officer as well, which many of my fellow police officers had as well, because it does reduce the amount of time in an effort to get first responders to a facility. We know nowadays that everybody has a smartphone technology in the palm of their hand, and if we have some of those areas of concern where we can't get those messages out, how are we shoring that up? So I looked at Rave. I worked very, very closely with them for the past several months, and to try and figure out what the best product was for our district and cost effective as well. We know Rave. We've dealt with Rave before. We were a good customer at Rave. I just think that it was probably rolled out possibly at the wrong time and maybe not sold the correct way. Me as a police officer probably wasn't the right person to be selling Rave. Now that I'm here and I'm trying to address the concerns, I'm part of the team, I can sit up here and say that Rave is probably that product that we need at this point. To have the ability to send out mass communications as opposed to just dialing 911 just makes sense. If I'm on a large campus like something like a toll gate and I have an emergency inside of my building and I dial 911, that message does not get sent out to everybody in my building. And we want everybody to be on the same page of music when it comes time for that emergency.
Ted, did you have anything to add?
Yep, and I would just add to that, you'll notice in the documentation that that's a 3-year grant for this year as well as 2 subsequent years.
Yeah, and to enumerate a little further, I believe when you press the app, the call gets to the first responders faster than a 911 call would, right?
It absolutely does. And I will say it, and I don't mean to keep talking about it, but my time spent as a police officer, if I was on Centerville Road and somebody were to alert through that app within inside the tollgate complex, that message is going to come to me before it actually makes its way to 911 headquarters, over to the local police department, then out to the cars for service. All right, so you decrease that time is really where we need to be as far as a district and increasing our safety and response time from first responders. Like I said, it also sends that message out to everybody inside the building. You know, we've had at least 2 incidents in the past couple weeks where faculty and staff have approached and said, when are we going to get this app back? When are we going to move back to this technology? How do we get those messages out to our population? How do we get out in a hurry?
Yeah, and it's invaluable, and it can be used for medical emergencies too.
Correct.
So it's not just someone who comes into the school with a weapon. If someone comes into the school with a weapon, and I'm the first person they encounter, and I don't have the app on my phone, I'm the first or second person, I don't have that app on my phone, I'm going to have a pretty guilty conscience. God forbid if something happens.
Yeah.
So the point is, it's so critical for instant communication because our schools aren't built to be secure, right? Like,
correct.
New high schools will be designed for that. So it's not that difficult to get into a school, right, that's built in 1960. So, you know, this is critical. Everybody should have it. And we will coordinate with the first responders, because I think another part of this, at some point, first responders can see in our buildings, right? So that's why we labeled all the exits, so we can,
correct.
You guys could direct people to safe places and whatnot. So I can't say enough about the Rave app, and it works. So I won't say any more. So thank you.
Move approval.
That's right. Yeah, it's moved and seconded. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion. Sorry to take so much time on that, but that's obviously something I feel strongly about. Next up, discussion action, contract award, Amplified IT, Dr. Taylor.
Thank you. This item's an annual renewal. This program, it's for our Google admin tools. It's a series of tools behind the scenes that help Chromebook management, as well as syncing rosters into Google Classroom, and fetching emails that get sent out that we need to reach and pull back really quickly for whatever reason. It's the undergirding of a lot of our Google tools.
Motion to approve?
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Dr. Taylor, you again, item discussion action. Is it Wally? I always pronounce it wrong.
Yep, and
Wally.
so, yep, Wally, yep. So what we have here is a request for your approval to purchase staff Chromebooks. We had received news a few weeks ago that we were approved for round 3 of ECF funding, the Emergency Connectivity Fund, and that was in slightly excess of $1.2 million in devices. We had submitted an application for these federal funds back about a year ago, and it took them that long to review. And the program supports student and teacher devices and up to the cost of $400. So when we put the application in approximately a year ago, we had placed for staff devices for the latest round of upgrades. We couldn't upgrade everybody. We had to submit a very detailed list of who exactly, or which device rather by serial number, would be the upgraded devices. And we actually submitted for 300. They came back and told us we could only have 298. And so they adjusted our quantity based on the spreadsheet that we had sent. But you'll notice that the unit price is $395. I did have a great question today. And just to break that down a little bit, usually a 14-inch device that we purchase is about $240. You'll notice that this is a touchscreen device, as well as we built in the warranty, 3-year warranty, as well as the Google Chrome license that we usually purchase separately. We were able to do that because each device, they allotted us up to the $400 per device. We did ask the question early on, could we do $200 devices and get twice as many? And they said, no, you can do $200 devices and still only get 298. So we made sure to take advantage of the bundling to get a little bit more per device. So we'd ask for your approval. That's grant funded.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Mr. Gallion?
When did we receive this grant funding?
We got word, I'll defer to Dr. Cecil, about 2 weeks ago.
Okay, and so I believe when we approved the FY24 budget, we had money in there to cover the replacement of staff PCs. Is that correct?
We did, yes. So we had in the FY budget. Oh, yeah, so a few different things. One, yes, we did have staff devices. I think after budget process, we had 100 staff devices left in the budget. We had purchased those already. These are 298 additional devices. We probably, by the end of this year, will have just about over 300 devices end of life for our faculty and staff.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Dr. Taylor, one more time for you. Discussion action, Wally?
Yep, and what we have here is just the annual renewal for a VMware. For those that are not familiar, VMware is the VDI software that our CAD labs run off of, as well as any member of the administrative team or various departments that ever need a VDI connection. So that's the software behind that.
Move approval.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion carries. I'm sorry, one more time, Dr. Taylor. Discussion contract, CDW Government, Inc.
Perfect. So what we have here is this is an annual renewal for our Google Workspace. Essentially, Google Workspace is just everything, right? That's our Gmail, Google Calendar, Sheets, Docs, everything to do with Google, the security stuff behind your emails, your phishing. It's our storage space, our terabytes that we get from Google. This is an annual expense budgeted, and so this is due up in every December of every year. So we're before you to renew Google.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next up, Mr. Oliver, discussion action contract award, filter sales and service.
Good evening. Requesting your approval for the replacement filters for all our unit ventilators and rooftop units with this entire district.
Move approval.
Second.
Any questions?
Just budgeted?
Yes, it is, sir.
Thank you.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, single source disaster recovery. Mr. Oliver.
Yes, this was a emergency we had at our green building. We had a sanitary line that broke and discharged water into the basement. The emergency cleanup was covered by our insurance, but the repair of the pipe was not. So we have to pay to have it repaired. Unfortunately, the place where the pipe was located was at a confined space, so we had to hire an outside company to come in and handle the repair properly.
Move approval.
Second.
Second. Any questions for Mr. Oliver? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, Mr. Oliver, you one more time, single source disaster recovery.
Yes, this was, we were being proactive until the HVAC system came online at Sherman School. So we installed dehumidifiers and air scrubbers just to keep the building humidity low, so we didn't reoccur another issue like we had previous 2 years ago.
Move approval.
Second, any questions? So this was, you said up until the AC, the HVAC system became
Correct.
operable?
It was over the course of the summer until the HVAC system was put online. If you remember correctly, I believe we were having trouble with switch gear and power over at Sherman, so that was a delay.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Next up, Dr. Schultz, discussion action, curriculum approvals, financial literacy. Another one I get excited about. Go ahead.
Yes, good evening, everyone. This curriculum map template is something that the teachers created. They worked really hard on it, and it's something that outlines the basics that are taught in high school in the financial literacy course. It's now one of the state mandated graduation requirements, and so just requesting your approval.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Mr. Galligan.
Thank God this is being included
Yes.
within the curriculums now. I can't tell you how many times people have said we should be teaching kids about taking out loans, credit cards,
that's
credit
what it's all about.
scores. So it's great that this has finally made its way into the schools and it's being formalized now, rather. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Dr. Schultz. Ms. Backus.
This school committee approved financial literacy back in 2017, after about 5 years of trying to get it approved, and finally, Mr. Eugene Nadeau, Mr. Testa, and myself were the three people that were finally able to pass this, because previous school committees had balked at it for some reason. Unfortunately, it didn't start as soon as we would have liked it to, but very glad to see it happening. And we were on the forefront of this. I just wish we had a little bit more of the forefront. But I'm glad to see it happening now. It's very, very important for kids.
Yeah, it didn't hurt that they made it state law, too.
No.
Absolutely.
We made it district-wide.
Yeah. It is great. It is a great program, though, and the kids love it.
They really do. They learn so much.
Well, it's real world, you know,
It
it's things
is.
they need as soon as they
need
graduate.
it. Basic skills for life.
Yep.
And they learn about they learn about everything. They learn about stocks, all kinds of stuff.
How to buy a car, how to
Yeah.
get an
How to do
apartment.
taxes.
Thank you, Dr. Schultz. Ms.
Thank
Backus, I echo what you say. It was one of the first things that I got together with you on when I got on. And we did do it before the state did, but if there's anybody who thinks we're not teaching our kids about finances, read the curriculum. Just please read the curriculum before you're into social media and say, what are these kids learning? So, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, that leads us to the second public comment. Same requirements as the first one, public comment 2 minutes per person. Please refrain from salacious remarks, et cetera. I will hold up my crude 30-second sign. So just please state your name when you come to the microphone.
Hello, Darlene Netco, I'm back. I'm glad Mr. Galligan mentioned phys ed in the high school. We're both on the same page. I've been saying this for years. It needs to go back to 3 full quarters, 3 quarters of phys ed and a quarter of health. And now is the time, before scheduling for next year starts up, to put it back. Our kids need the exercise, need the benefits of phys ed, and the only reason it exists the way it is because a previous administrator decided he could get rid of a bunch of phys ed teachers by cutting it down. There was no pedagogical reason to get rid of a half a year of phys ed. And the electives that they put in place of it are not the same as an actual phys ed class. So it's time to put that back. At the October school committee meeting, we heard from a teacher from Vets who was talking about the problems of the HVAC system. And I know that those problems are being worked on. I just want to make public that Windman is also having problems with their HVAC system. I hear all the time, especially from guidance, the guidance department over there. I don't know what's going on, but it's a new system. It needs to be fixed because there's no reason why people should be freezing or sweating or cold air coming through from the windows or whatever's going on. And I know that over at Windman, there is also a spreadsheet that people have completed with issues with the HVAC system. So let's get our HVAC systems up and running properly. You know, at Tollgate, I just have an H system in my room. Someday with the new school, I hope to have an HVAC system. And then finally, it's ironic that a modern teacher convention is happening and no actual teachers are going. I understand there's a plan in place, but if no actual teachers are going, at least since it's at Hershey, maybe somebody could bring some chocolate back for us. Thank you.
I'll take some chocolate.
Thank you, Ms. Necko. Anyone else for public comment? Okay. Future meetings. Fiscal Subcommittee meeting is November 15th at 2:30. Policy Subcommittee meeting, December 5th at 4 p.m. Warwick School Building Committee, December 6th at 7:30 a.m. The next monthly school committee meeting is December 12th at 7 p.m. The next Warwick Special Education Advisory Committee is January 24th at 6 p.m. And this weekend, if anyone has the time, Pilgrim Players Drama Club will be performing The Addams Family. If you want to see high school plays, it is phenomenal. I've gone to them for 10 years. It is worth the price of admission. So Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, so there's no reason why you can't go. All right, at this point, there being no other business before this committee, I seek a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned.
Lisa, bring me back some chocolate. Bring me back some chocolate.
I guess. No, I'm just kidding.
We all want it.
I'm not a sweets guy.